In a world overflowing with noise and persuasion, what truly influences our decisions? Why do we say yes, often when we mean to say no? Robert B. Cialdini's groundbreaking book Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, uncovers the hidden forces that shape our behavior every day. This is not just a book about sales or marketing, it's a revelation about human nature. In this documentary, journey with me through Cialdini's timeless principles and discover how influence works not just on others but on ourselves. Let's begin. My friend Alex will narrate this story.
The jungle floor was a mess of tangled vines and shadows. Every step was a gamble. One wrong move, and you could be facing a venomous snake or a hidden pit. I was deep in the Amazon, searching not for a lost city of gold, but for something far more valuable. I was tracking the legend of a man known only as the Architect, a master of human behavior who was said to possess a map. Not a map of rivers or mountains, but a map of the mind itself. This map held the keys to understanding why people say yes. It was the ultimate survival tool, a guide to navigating the most dangerous terrain of all, the human world.
Hey, if you're enjoying the video so far, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps the channel and lets me know you want more content like this. Thanks.
Find the map, learn its secrets, survive the encounter. My journey had led me to a remote village, nestled in a forgotten valley. The locals spoke of an ancient temple, swallowed by the jungle, where the architect had hidden his knowledge. They warned me of trials, of mental traps set to guard the secrets. Most who went in, they said, never came out the same. This wasn't about brute force. It was about wits. It was about understanding the hidden currents that guide our decisions, the invisible forces that can make a friend an enemy or an enemy a friend. As I pushed aside a curtain of thick leaves revealing the temple's entrance, I knew this was more than just a quest. It was a test of my own mind, my own resolve against the powerful arts of influence. The air inside the temple was thick and heavy. It smelled of damp earth and time. Carved into the stone walls were strange symbols, not of gods or beasts, but of human interactions. A figure giving a gift, a crowd following a leader, a person standing alone against a group. It felt like I had stepped into a classroom for the mind. My guide, a local man named Kai, had given me my first clue before leaving me at the entrance. He said, to find the first key, you must give something away. The path opens not when you take, but when you offer. It was a riddle, a paradox that I would have to solve to proceed. The journey had truly begun. My survival instincts were screaming. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the drip of water from the stone ceiling. I had my knife, my wits, and Kai's cryptic message. This wasn't about fighting my way through. It was about thinking my way through. The architect had designed this place to teach a profound lesson about human nature. To succeed, I would have to become a student of his methods. I had to decode the psychology of this place before it decoded me. The first chamber lay ahead, dark and foreboding. The first secret of influence was waiting to be discovered, and I was determined to be the one to find it. The ultimate survival challenge had started. The first chamber was a dead end. A solid stone wall blocked my path, with no levers or buttons in sight. On a small altar in the center of the room sat a single empty wooden bowl. I recalled Kai's words, "The path opens not when you take, but when you offer." I looked in my pack. I had my water canteen, a bit of dried fruit, my flint and steel. What could I offer? It felt like a test of sacrifice. I decided to place a piece of my precious dried mango into the bowl. It was a small gesture, but it was all I had. For a moment, nothing happened. The silence was absolute. I felt a surge of doubt. Was this just a fool's errand? Then I heard a low grinding sound. A hidden mechanism whirred to life. Dust fell from the ceiling as a section of the wall slowly receded, revealing a narrow passage. I had unlocked the first secret. It wasn't about the value of the gift, but the act of giving itself. This was the principle of reciprocity. Humans are hardwired to repay what another person has provided. When you give first, even something small, you create a powerful sense of obligation. The architect had built this lesson into the very stone of his temple. I had given the temple a gift, and in return, it had given me a path forward. A simple yet incredibly powerful survival tactic for any social situation. As I moved into the next passage, the lesson sank in. In the wild, I've seen this play out. A shared meal, a helping hand, these things build bonds. They create unspoken debts that strengthen the tribe. Reciprocity is the social glue that holds us together. It ensures we can rely on each other when things get tough. The architect understood this on a deep level. He knew that if you want to gain cooperation, you must first be the one to cooperate. This principle can be used for good, to build trust and alliances. But in the wrong hands, it could be a weapon, a way to manipulate people into agreeing to things they otherwise wouldn't. The passage opened into a second, larger chamber. This time, the challenge was different. A group of carved stone figures stood in a circle, all facing a single statue in the center, but one statue was facing the wrong way, turned toward the wall. It felt like another test. This wasn't about giving, it was about belonging. I realized the next secret was tied to our deep-seated need to be part of the group, the law of the tribe. This principle, social proof, dictates that we often determine what is correct by finding out what other people think is correct. We look to the actions of others to guide our own behavior, especially when we are uncertain. The lone statue was the key. I walked up to the statue that was facing the wrong way. It felt out of place, an outcast from the stone tribe. The solution seemed obvious. My gut told me to turn it around, to make it conform to the rest of the group. As I put my hands on the cold stone and began to push, I felt a click under the statue's base. With a groan, the statue rotated to face the center, joining its brethren. Instantly, another hidden door rumbled open on the far side of the chamber. I had discovered the second key, social proof. We are herd animals. We find safety and validation in numbers. If everyone else is doing it, we assume it must be the right thing to do. It's a mental shortcut, a survival instinct that saves us time and energy. This principle is everywhere in the modern world. Online reviews, bestseller lists, laughing tracks on TV shows, they all leverage social proof. They tell us, everyone else likes this, so you will too. The architect had demonstrated it perfectly. By making the one statue conform, I had proven my understanding of this fundamental human tendency. But this instinct can also lead us astray. It can lead to mob mentality or prevent people from intervening in an emergency, assuming someone else will help. Understanding this key meant I could recognize when the crowd was guiding me wisely and when it was leading me off a cliff. It's a critical tool for navigating the social jungle. The new passage led to a chamber that felt different. It was smaller, more intimate. At the far end, there were two pedestals. On one pedestal sat a crudely carved wooden idol. On the other sat an identical idol, but this one had a small handwritten note next to it signed by a name I recognized. Professor Alistair Finch, renowned archaeologist. It was a simple test of perception. Which object seemed more valuable, more trustworthy? The answer was immediate. The one vouched for by an expert. This was the third key, authority. We are taught from a young age to listen to figures of authority. Parents, teachers, experts. Their titles, clothes, and credentials lend weight to their words. This shortcut saves us from having to research every single decision ourselves. We trust the doctor in the white coat, the financial advisor in the sharp suit. The architect knew that the mere symbol of authority could be incredibly persuasive, whether it was earned or not. This is why con artists often adopt fake titles or uniforms. They are hijacking our natural tendency to defer to experts. By choosing the idol endorsed by the archaeologist, I showed I understood this pillar of influence. Trust is built on two pillars: the wisdom of the crowd, social proof, and the guidance of the expert, authority. Together, they form a powerful foundation for persuasion. The next chamber presented a unique challenge. A chasm about 10 feet wide separated me from the exit. There was no bridge. However, on my side of the chasm were 3 heavy stone tablets. The first was blank. The second had a single strange symbol carved into it. The third had the same symbol, but with a small check mark carved next to it. I looked across the chasm. On the other side, there was a pedestal with a depression that matched the symbol. It was a commitment test. I had to choose a tablet, but once I chose, I couldn't go back. I picked up the second tablet, the one with just the symbol. It was a small initial step. I realized the puzzle wasn't about bridging the chasm physically, but mentally. The architect was teaching the fourth key, consistency. We have a deep psychological need to be consistent with what we've already done or said. Once we make a choice or take a stand, we feel pressure to behave consistently with that commitment. By picking up the second tablet, I had made a small initial commitment. The next logical step was to find a way to checkmark it, to follow through. On the wall, I found a loose stone. Using it, I carefully carved a check mark onto my tablet, making it identical to the third one. A moment later, a stone bridge slowly extended across the chasm. My small act of carving the check mark was a public and effortful commitment. I had aligned my actions with my initial choice, proving my understanding of this powerful force. This is why people ask for small favors before asking for big ones. It's the foot in the door technique. Once we say yes to something small, we're far more likely to say yes to something larger to remain consistent with our past selves. The architect had crafted a brilliant physical metaphor for this internal pressure. The bridge didn't appear until I had actively followed through on my initial symbolic choice. It's a thread that pulls us forward, often without us even noticing. Crossing the bridge, I entered a room where a single beautiful red jewel sat on a pedestal under a beam of light. An inscription on the wall read, "This is the last of its kind. Once it is taken, there will be no other." Suddenly, the jewel seemed immensely desirable. This was the fifth key, scarcity. Things become more attractive when their availability is limited. The fear of missing out is a powerful motivator. Limited time offer, only a few left in stock, exclusive opportunity. These phrases all tap into our anxiety about scarcity. The architect knew that the simple idea that we might lose an opportunity makes us want it more. It's a primal trigger, linked to our survival instincts, where scarce resources meant the difference between life and death. The jewel was a trap, of course. My instincts told me not to take it. The lesson was in the wanting, not the having. I left the jewel on its pedestal and moved toward the final door. It opened into the temple's central chamber, a vast circular room. In the middle stood a single life-size statue of a man who looked friendly and familiar, even though I'd never seen him. This was the architect. He was smiling. This final chamber was the home of the sixth and most subtle key liking. The simple truth is that we are more likely to be persuaded by people we know and like. It's the most obvious secret and yet the one we most often forget. This principle is why companies hire attractive spokespeople or why friends can so easily sell us things. We say yes to people we like. The factors that cause liking are many: physical attractiveness, similarity to us, compliments, and cooperation. The architect's statue was designed to be likable. It had a warm expression, and its features were a composite of different ethnicities, making it seem familiar to anyone. He was using his own principle on me, even in stone. It was the final lesson. Build rapport, find common ground, and be genuine. This is the oil that lubricates all social interaction, the foundation upon which the other principles can be built. As I stood before the statue, I had a sudden, chilling realization. I had navigated the temple, decoded the 6 principles: reciprocity, social proof, authority, consistency, scarcity, and liking. I felt like I had mastered them. But then I looked at my own journey. Kai, the friendly guide, had given me a gift of knowledge, reciprocity. He told me others had failed, making me want to join the successful few, social proof. I had followed the clues left by the architect, a master of his field, authority. I had made a series of small commitments to advance, consistency. The quest for secret knowledge was a powerful lure, scarcity. And I had trusted Kai because he was cooperative and seemed to like me, liking. The final twist wasn't in the temple. It was in me. I hadn't just discovered the 6 keys of influence. I had been a subject of them the entire time. The architect's temple wasn't just a classroom, it was a demonstration. The real map wasn't carved in stone. It was the book, Influence, and this entire journey was an elaborate, persuasive trick to make me and you desperate to read it. The architect, Robert Cialdini, had not just written about persuasion, he had created a masterpiece of it. The secrets weren't just for navigating the jungle, but for understanding the very fabric of human connection, and I knew I had to go back to the beginning and truly learn them.
If you have liked the video, then like, share, and subscribe for more such amazing content.